Okay, good morning, guys. Audio, video is good, I take it. This is Simon with toughtrader.com doing the live market preview for the 16th of March, Quad Witching Friday. Okay, so before we get started, let's get rid of the or get through the challenges of the legalese. We'll pop that in there. Let's see where I have it. There we go. Past performance is not indicative of future results. I'm sharing my trade plan with y'all in hopes it'll make you a better trader. But important, I do make and lose money, right? It's not a one-way street. I do both of them, sometimes quite adeptly on both sides, if I use that word correctly. Make sure you have a risk management plan in place. You have the ability to follow it. Don't keep losing money. If you're losing money, stop. Go back to paper trading. Get your head straight. Get your trade plan straight, and then come back at it. Right? Get help, find a mentor, do whatever you have to do, but don't blow up your trading account. Let's see. Past performance is not indicative of future results, and this is for educational purposes only. If you want to read the rest of it, there it is for you. Enjoy. So let's get rid of this and jump into the fray. So a couple things. First, a quick look at yesterday. I broke the chart down. I guess I posted it and then left it alone. So let me see if I can find it here real quick. If we take yesterday's chart, so as I don't destroy it, right? So this is an important concept for everyone in the room, right? And we get rid of this tick, right? So we're going to get rid of tick, get rid of all the noise. We get rid of the 50-60 retrace. Important, guys, close behind the 62 retrace. Long liquidation, right? That was the first close behind on ES, right? Behind the 60, notice how they held it right here, right? So this is really important for when you close behind the 62 retrace after it begins to look like you're going to trend up. That's a really important sign. It has not failed repeatedly, shown the ability to roll to the downside. If you're not keeping track of that 62 retrace, it doesn't happen every time. The problem is when it does happen, it's devastating in its loss and its potential losses to the downside. That's all I can point out about that. Very, very important. Okay, we're going to get rid of the 62 retrace. We're going to remove Globex high, value area high, value area low. We're getting rid of everything except the zones in here. Okay, and this is what you're left with. First push into the white zone, push back out. Second test worked, smaller bounce. Third test, actually fourth test, broke, right? Push all the way down to the next support level, I think within a tick or to the tick, one of the two, right? Responsive buyers, rotation size down, right? Rotation size started at swing high was 27.67, at 27.56. You find an attempted response. Then at 27.46, you find your second attempted response. If you're not counting the 10-point rotations in ES, you are leaving yourself in a difficult position for some great trade to not catch some great trades. In a wide-ranging market like we have right now, that is key to getting good location and corresponding that with good rotations. So there's other clues that obviously aligned with zones, and the 10-point is not magical. The 10-point is to tell you to, hey, look around. What's here that can support the market, and what's the process, either through the algo that we have or through the either through the algo or through the support resistance areas. What are the areas that'll get you your trades? Okay, so that's very basic. If you focus on the first touch of the zones, you should have a high win rate. That has never changed. That's been the core of my room since I've started, has been first touch of the zones, counter rotation, and move back up. There cannot be simpler than that. We only added additional pieces to help you get very specific. There are times when those zones don't hold, but they're rare on first touch. Okay, so and then just use an appropriate stop behind to make sure you don't sink yourself for the day. That's that. So let's jump into the day here real quick. I'm going to close this because that's all I wanted to show. I've already plugged in Globex high and low. I'm going to insert this tick so it's there when we roll, and then we'll roll over to the key critical areas for the day. There we go. And it looks like we're gapping up today, but within range. Okay, so let's go to the TPO charts. I will share my screen. There we are. Okay, everyone should be able to see that without any issue. Let's go to NQ first, and we'll go do ES. We have plenty of time. So today's quad witching. That means that you're going to see a ton of volume in the first 30 minutes of the day, right? And shockingly, I'll quote Dalton on this. You're either going to see a very tight, narrow, choppy day or a very, very wide day, one of the two. Okay, there probably won't be an in-betweener. Okay. What I pointed, and I posted this on the members Twitter stream last night, is notice how we are, see how we're sinking down, but really not falling apart, but we're just pushing value area low, lower, high, low, lower, lower, just a little bit at a time, right? When's the last time that we saw this? I want to show you all this. The last time that we saw this, okay, was back over here on early March. Okay, see how we started just high. Oh, hold on, let's erase this. High, lower, 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 lower. And pop goes the weasel. And it was for several days where we popped all the way back up. And that's a nice trade. Notice what launched this move to the upside, right, was we finally got above the value area high. So we opened up, consolidated, but once we got above value area high, it broke into trend day up. This is valuable because this is a move from 68.17 to roughly 69.17. This represents a 100-point NQ move right here. So if you're wondering why I'm so keen on observing this move right here, where we're pressing down, pressing down, pressing down, pressing down, is because I know if I get above that value area, I'm going to start to look for the opportunity to catch a trend day up, because I know that we're kind of getting this balloon underwater. And I'm going to show you two more examples of that same setup. If we go to, again, early February, right, you'll see it again. It was a little bit more protracted in time frame, so we're going to have to shrink it down. And it didn't work every time, but once it established above value area high, it did. So I'm going to show this to you. Let me see if I can stretch this out a bit. There we go. Okay. So we really didn't have this is really the first place where we got a bunch of days down. So let me show you this. It was started here. I'm going to start my count here, 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 here. Value keeps shifting down. So this was the first attempt right here, and it failed, right? And if you look, what happened there is we gapped, and then we fell back into the value area. So we gapped out of, we attempted to gap out, and we pushed right into resistance right above, and we failed. If you will then look, hold on one second, and let me plug in my phone before I let it die power-wise. Then we start that process. We basically continue that process because we didn't trend day up here, right? And there's ways we have to tell. Obviously, we know the protocol, right? And then here's where we push up. And if you look at this day, how it was different is we opened right above value. See how this day opened up and they tried to turn it into a trend day down, and we came back to test value and then continued lower. In this case, in each of the cases where it's lifted, we've opened above value, tested down into value of the prior day, and then lifted out. It also doesn't always result in just a huge, massive trade, but even here it looks tiny. From the test of value at 64.50, we closed at 65.41. That's a 100-point rip in NQ, right? And you'll see the roll all the way off to the right side. It just launched us to the upside, okay? So obviously that was more pronounced. And then we have one more example that I'm going to show you, and that was back over here. Okay, so again, it wasn't quite as clean, and it was around Christmas time, right? So if you take it right after Christmas, see how, again, we get the sinking points of control, particularly here, starting here, 1, 2, 3, sideways. It doesn't rise, so I'm going to count it as a continuing sequence. 4, right? And then notice on this day here, right, this was a case of gap. Oh, no gap. well, slight gap from settle price, but it was a gap within range, open drive higher, close outside of the range, and then trend up from there. So alert for potential trend up today, right? I don't know that it'll happen, but I'm looking for the signs. And if I do get the signs, I am going to try to push that trade to the upside. That's 3 great examples of what the potential of this trade is, right? So now let's go talk about today specifically. There's some other characteristics there that occurred, but we won't worry about it. So number one, the most obvious target above is here. 71.25 to 71.29. Not quite 100 points. 100 points away, which we've been able to achieve multiple times in the past couple of months. If we look at 70.67, it'll bring us up to 71.67. Shockingly, that would put us right into or just past the anomaly right over here. The auction's complete up here, which would be 71.97. Both of those are within range to the upside. The first thing that I have to do, right, so before I get all excited about an absolute push up, is I have to establish the market above and holding 70.79.50. You'll want to write that number down. Very, very important. If we're not above 70.79.50, you cannot test up to 71.25 by both virtue of the fact that you have to cross 70.79.50, but you also have to establish and hold above, right? And remember, we've been sinking value down every single day, right? Obviously, we're opening right into the middle of the range. Now, what has happened every single day, so I'm going to switch gears here for a second, when we have opened in value. So we can go look at this, and we can see, wow, that looks like an awful chart. Something's wrong there. Let's see what's going on. Still looks like crap, but I will figure out why later. Okay, every time we have opened in value, what are we getting? Two-sided trading through them. I don't know why the data on this chart's messed up, but it is. I do not like this. Hold on, let's get rid of this chart. Something's wrong. Let's do this. Right click, duplicate chart, analysis, clean chart. There we are. That looks better, right? So, okay. Every day that we've opened in range, what have we done? Wide ranging bars. What have we been doing consistently? Suck them in on top, suck them in on bottom, move back to the middle. We look on Thursday, right? Balanced days. Suck them in on top, suck them in on the bottom, move them back to the middle. Run the stops on both ends. Grab the momentum chasers on top and on bottom, right? And then push everyone back to the mid. That's, again, that was the 14th, right? What have we done? This was a directional day on the 13th. Why did this end up being a directional day? Well, if you look, if we go back to the chart over here, this was this day right here, and we're going to break it out into individual sessions. So there had to be some new, I don't know what drove us through there exactly. I think that was the Tillerson resignation day, but notice that we opened above value, right? And where did the market really start to stretch lower? A close below value pushed us into a trend day down. So I'm looking for the opposite of this for trend day up, right? I know I'm opening in value, right? I would have expected on a day like this for us to push in and then push out like that, right? Instead, what we did is we established underneath value area low. That opened us up for a trend day down. This area in general provided the initial support. That gave you the bounce back up to the upside. We could not come back and retest value area low, consolidated underneath, and push to the downside, and that started us with our downside move, right? So if I take that same lesson from today, right, number one, I know the market's in trouble if we establish and hold below 70.42.75. You'll want to have that written down. I know the market has a good chance of rallying at 70.78. This is the first target, and then this area up here becomes my secondary target that needs to be re-auctioned. It's going to be very wide and fast through here, potentially above 71.50. Could be very, very fast through here. Just be aware and be cautious on your, be really sure-footed on your shorts in this area. Okay. In the middle, right? See how we're coming up against 70.68 and we're just going to dance around it. So inside, while we're inside that range, this is what inside the blue area, right? I expect to have a pen that works in proper color. I expect price action to look some variation of this, because that's all we've been getting inside of there. If I get above value, I expect it to push out. If I get below value and hold, I expect it to push down, right? That's my central trade plan. On NQ, I'm looking for 30-point rotations. This is my obvious target above, followed by the other levels that are on the chart that I've already distributed to members, right? If we look back behind that 70.40, right, what do we have? We have a lot of space, okay? We have a lot of space that's been untested. I believe this already got tested here. Let's see something here real quick. I believe we already tested 70.57. We did multiple times. Okay, this puts us at our low right here. Let's go look at what we have to the left. Okay, we have, this is our first obvious area. So it's from 71.64. If we dump 100, where are we trading right now? 70.63. If we drop 100, that would bring us to 69.53. which would put us right about here, okay? So there's a problem with right about there. Your support is going to be back over here at 69.28 to 69.15, or it's going to be approximately 69.83 to 69.68, right? So this is just shy of 100. This is just over 100. And the way the market's been going when it's panicking, we've been shooting for the over, not the under. There's a really tiny little hole if we overshoot this right here at 69.0375. That'd be a huge stretch. I'm clearly looking for responsive buyers to be responsive in this area, right? I'll obviously look for trade setups. The algos will clue us in as to where I want to get long or short, so I'm not worried about that. But I really think up is easier than down still. We've had any bad news that we've had has been absorbed, right? And then you can see from the bigger picture down in this area, which is important, right? So you'll see this whole area, right? So remember, even though we micro it down, right? This area in general, this became resistance, right? So we came up, we got underneath, this left these guys stranded, became overhead resistance, and the breakout came when we closed above this value area right there. See how we pushed right up to it on March 8th? Right? So that became resistance. That's 7,005 to 7,000, right? So generally, without pinpointing a location, right, I would expect that 7,005 area is going to get tested. That would be 6,000. That'd be 66 down from where we're trading right now, right? And the clear support levels from an intraday basis are down here at 69.80 to 69.60. What I'd want to see if we got here is to get back above that 7,005 for a close and a push back up. Once we are back inside here, if you look at how the market behaved, your balance area within here was pretty much this right here. The range went from 7,005 to 69.02, was 100 points, and I would expect this to establish, right, a trading range if we fell back in here, right? Because what would you do if you look, the pattern repeats? If you look to the left, right, see how we broke above, attempted above. So your old resistance level was roughly here, right? Because it attempted to break out, finally breaks back in, traps back in. You see how we backside tested, and then you'll see what the bottom of the range here was back. Let me see what it does here. What did we do? Okay, we pushed out, pushed in. Wow, that's confusing. I'll have to do the analysis on that. Okay, here we go. We pushed out, we pushed in. We tried back under. See how the value area, they tried back under here in February, and they couldn't get it. See how they tried to push under? See here, we pushed right down. So if you look, we broke out, right? Trapped back in, went all the way back to the bottom of that 67.77 range, attempted below, right? Trapped shorts as they attempted to break, closed back in, backside tested that 67.77. See how it did it almost to the tick? pushed back to the top of the range, and then went all the way back to 7,005, right? So if we look at that model the same way over here, I realize to a lot of people this is like glassy-eyed, what the hell are you talking about, Simon? But it's important. Top. Let's erase all the lines. Really? What's my computer doing here? Hold on a second. I might have to reboot this computer. Top. I don't know what's going on with this, but I'll reboot in just a second over here. Okay, so top, right? There's the last top. The top of that swing is right here. All the value areas, the highest value area prior to that breakout was right there at 7,005, right? So I expect that on this test, you will find responsive buyers. I'm not the only person in the world that can pull up a chart and look at where the last top was, right? So I'm going to be keen in this area for looking for a response, and I'm going to be keen to look for, let me erase. I'm going to be keen to look for a push in, push underneath, trap back above, and a push out. I'm not bearish is what I'm trying to say, right? So that's it on NQ. I know the market's about to open. I want to go through ES real quick. I expect this in the first half hour and a boatload of volume, being that it's quad witching, which is why I'm sitting out the first 30 to 45 minutes minimum. I'll look to see what the setups look like, but I don't want to get run over. And obviously I say that every time to guys in the room. If I see a clear setup, I'll take it. But we're not gapping out of range. We're not doing anything. We're just inside yesterday's range. I'll wait until I get a clear setup. The best trades came yesterday after 10 a.m. Central Time, right? So let's jump into ES really quick. Same story there pretty much. Okay. First thing you'll notice, sinking value areas. See that? We can't get above. Okay. Starting there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm on high alert if we get above 27.61 1/4. Obviously, we're just a few points away from that, but that's what I need to see us get above, roughly, right? My obvious target to the upside is this area up here, but you will note in this area up here, we almost tested right there, which makes this weaker, right? And if we blast through this, the obvious what I'd like to see is to target is that 28.01. If we can get above, that's within 50 points roughly of where we're trading. It's totally doable on ES, right? The flip side of that story is if you look at the bottom of the range, there's the bottom of value area. That was the value area from yesterday. This is the bottom of value area for the week. There's the open. Again, I'm not worried about the open today because I'm just not trading it with quad witching. Push in. This is the most logical target, right? There's nothing really to repair in this profile. It looks pretty smooth and even. So this is the obvious target, 27.33. That's obviously within 50 points. 2,700 is within our purview all the way down here, right? That's a 50-point range on ES, right? And if you look at what's there, there's only two things that stand out. And that is this and this area here. And there's a small, tiny hole in the profile right there at 27.16. And then if we do stretch all the way down to 2,700, you will see that actually the auction, that 2,700 and then 26.85, both of those areas complete repairs on the chart from the 5th, right? I've pointed this out in a video I did earlier this week. I am definitely looking to be a swing long out of that area if we should be able to get into that trade location. But again, I'm not certain that we're going down. I actually am more leaning towards pushing higher, right? So that's pretty much the case. I think if we get above 27.61, I'm going to look for internals and the tick to support a push up and towards 27.84. There's only one thing standing in the way of 27.84, and that is this right here on the 14th. The 14th chart's repaired at 27.22. And 2772, sorry, I dyslexicized it. 2772, the charts were paired there, and I would look for the reversal. So for guys in the room on the algo, on the last piece on the algo, right? So if we look at the algo intraday on ES, I want to pull this down into a big picture, right? What am I looking at there? Not today. And I want to look at yesterday. So this is ES, okay? Notice before we push on the algo, see how we start getting a series of the green threes are what I'm pointing at, right? See how we start getting this support resistance area. And once we cleared, so if you look, when you get all of these stacking all in one area like this, it becomes a box, right? So that's support from yesterday. If you look how we're trading, if we pull that into, what date am I on there? Hold on a second here. 315. We're on 316. Got it. I overstepped. Hold on a second here. This was your first support resistance area. You'll see how they try to hold above it. Right? Okay, Josh, talk to you in a little bit. Push down. Notice we're underneath where that support base try to build. Right? You'll see they try to hold it. See the heavy deltas? They tried to hold it. Right? Notice as we push underneath there, see how that became resistance? And now we're trading where? Right to the top of where that battle took place back on the 14th. See that? That 2760. Okay. And we're trying to get above right now. See how they're rejecting right off the top of that at 2760? Okay. What you'll notice is we start getting these green algo signals coming in at higher lows, right? And it often portends for a push that's about to follow, right? Because obviously what triggers a short is if I get behind these, that triggers a short, but the inverse is true too. If I print all these red threes and I keep getting above them, it's triggering longs, right? So right now I know going back to, yeah, Daniel, I'm with you, but there's no way for me to tell if the buying or selling is legitimate because it's quad witching and there's just a boatload of volume going on. Hold on a sec. And Bill, roger that. I can do that. So, so the point is, right, obviously the red algos, the red numbers when we're getting below them are triggering shorts, right? And the green numbers are, the green numbers are triggering shorts. The red numbers are triggering longs when we get behind them, right? But the rising deltas, when you start getting these rising deltas over here and you can't get behind them, it usually portends a continued push to the upside, right? So let's go look at NQ. Same way, NQ was even more prevalent yesterday and obviously responds better. There we go. So here's NQ from yesterday. See how we start getting these rising deltas? That's what that's indicating to me, right? And we can't get behind them. And that often marks the beginning of a push. Here I can lower this a little bit because I don't need this as much. There we go. And if you look at the top from yesterday where the algos were firing, see how the algos fired on top, and then we started getting lower highs on the green threes, essentially, right? And that pretended to roll back to the downside. And notice every time that we break those threes on that are green and the threes that are on the reds, right? Look how it pushes. The threes just signaling, is the algo signaling me that the setup's there, so I don't have to go and do the detailed work, right? So, and if you look on the roll to the downside yesterday at the low, okay, see there's the final three. We get behind them and then see all the red three versus the three rising green threes and how it pretends. Notice that each time they press down, I've got rising higher lows on the deltas, on the stacked deltas through here. I've got attempts to push lower, and when I get behind them, we just jack them to the upside, right? That setup, I really traded pretty poorly relative to my execution of my own algo yesterday. Hopefully I'll fix that, right? So the other thing you'll notice, it's odd. See all the delta prints that we're getting through here, the threes, right? That's rare to get in the morning. Compare this morning where we gotten all these prints already to something's wrong here. 3. Oh no, it's not. It's fine. So now compare it to yesterday morning. Here I know what's going on. Chart settings. Nope, that's right. Why does that look funny? Because because we didn't gap. That's why it looks funny. Got it. Okay. So if you look at yesterday morning at 8:30, all the way back here, right? We got a few prints, but not a lot, especially in the first couple of minutes, right? And it's normal when you look in the first 30 minutes. I'll show you the prior day, all the way back to 8:30, right? We usually don't get very many prints in the first 30 minutes, right? Because the market's still working itself out. You'll notice there was no heavy deltas. There's no colored bars through here, right? So look at this morning. We're going to see a ton of just whipsaw and a lot of volume going off. So what's the reason for that? The reason for that is because every option, futures contract, everything rolls over today. It's quad witching, right? So you're just going to see institutions jamming volume through there. So trades that normally would set up pretty easily are going to be whipsaw back and forth. That is why I'm on hold for the moment until after 9:30. And again, the best trade setup for us after 9:30 yesterday morning. Does anyone in the room have any questions? My plan's always the same, right? Nothing has switched. We've pushed into value area high and rejected. We're inside value area low. What do I expect in here? This. Between these 2 points, I expect a lot of this. Okay? It's got to get above or below the value areas. NQ, what do I expect in here? I expect some variation on that, right? Where we sweep them low, we sweep them high, and we take care of both sides of the range. Where the only difference is on NQ is that we've pushed into the white zone, and we have to get below to test the value area low. But even within that, I still expect it to be whippy both sides. And then what do I want? So this is important to keep in mind because this will be the most, I think, profitable trade if it happens. If we establish above value area high, if we establish above value area high, right? I look for a push to the outside. Can do that. Looking for a push to the outside. Inside here, I'm looking for balance and chop. I'm not trying to extend my trades. And then underneath here and Thursday's low, I am looking to push down to Dalton's Gap, which is 7,002, 69.98, a retest of all those swing highs and essentially the value area prior to breaking out. And I'm looking for a response out of here, looking for a response out of here, and then the zones further down. And that's how you stay calm with your trading. We'll balance the short-term algos, right, we'll balance the short-term algos, which are 5 range bars, against the 5-minute charts and the support zones, which come off the daily time frame. So we're stacking, right? What's your most important technical indicator? Well, the larger the time frame, the more important the indicator. So those zones are very, very important because they come off the daily chart, right? Took a lot of effort and time for traders to establish that chart, so that those areas tend to get defended. The 5 range bar is just cluing me in as to when they're about to flip the book back the other way, so that off the lows we can catch the longs, or off the highs we can catch the shorts. And then also even though I blew the trade, I had a great short coming off of VWAP yesterday prior to that push to the downside, but I lost my patience and covered that trade way early. And it was essentially a scratch for me because by the time I got to the profit, I had barely had any contracts left on the trade. So that's kind of my 2 cents. Floor is open for anyone who has questions in the room. So the biggest mistake I saw anyone make in the room was a very good trader that we have in the room who saw the location he wanted to short a couple days ago. And instead of waiting for his setup, that's his own trade plan, he pre-anticipated the move because he wanted to try to catch the very tippy top of it. And had he waited a minute, so it went up like this, and he had his area. But then he also has a setup that said first calls for a break below point X, right? Let's call this X. He shorted here and got stopped out here. And had he waited for the trigger, he would have had a move that looks similar to this, and he would have killed it, right? That was the biggest trading error I saw all week from any of my coaching clients, right? Nothing devastating. Obviously, I'm not going to say who that was, but quite clear that he simply could have, that had he waited for his trigger, he would have gotten paid, right? Very, very nicely. And then the other thing that has been apparent all week long is the only place I got shortcutted. So my own biggest trading error has been trying to use tighter stops on my setups. Crunched me yesterday on the long. I had that long nailed in perfectly. Instead of using a 10-point stop, I try to manually trade with a 6-point stop. I won't do that again. because it cost me a 30-point move yesterday on my trade. So not cool. You'll notice, right, this morning, and the reason why I'm not trading, even though it looks quite tradable, the only way to trade this and be certain that you're going to get the move up is you have to be able to trade through this on NQ at least, right? See this? Chop City, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I'll tell you why this is a problem. If you have a small account or you trade very leveraged, you tend to hang on to every single little tick, right? And you tend to just get emotionally worn down on that whipsaw. And also, if you look at the size of these stops, so this is 70.79, this is 70.67, 10 points. Most retail traders on NQ that I know trade with 10-point or less stops, and this is just enough to get you stopped out of the trade if you don't place your trade very, very accurately, I would say. Let me erase all these lines. If you don't trade very accurately, it's just enough to get you stopped out, right? And what they're doing is, instead of waiting for the establishment, meaning getting above prior day's high or some key level, right? So this is the previous day's close, right? And obviously we're pushing the daily high, but if you try to trade within here, trying for the push with a tight stop, I see this time and time again. They try to take trades with tight stops and they get stopped out, stopped out, stopped out, and the move happens, they miss it, right? Or they've buried themselves so badly trying to enter and exit with tight stops on NQ, and it just kills them. Same thing on ES. If you look, so this is a 2-point range bar, so it's a little less dramatic, but the whips back and forth just kill the traders. This range since we've opened has been pretty tight, 27.58 to 27.62. But again, most ES traders that I run into, when I suggest a 4-point stop on their trades, they're aghast at the particular stop. But what I see for the majority of traders, so the skilled traders can trade with less than 4 points a stop. They're very accurate at where they enter. But unskilled traders using tight stops just tend to get stopped out a lot, and the P&L racks up really, really fast. You got to relax through this. If you're going to take the trade, you got to be committed on the trade. But my suggestion is use a bit wider stop and make sure that you're really honing in on key location and your key setups. The other mistake I see, since I'm not trading the first half hour, on traders on a regular basis is anticipation of the move without getting their setup. And what they do is, and what those traders are trying to do is they're trying to look at the market, and they are attempting to read the whole market and then fit tight stops on a very large time frame read, and that doesn't work in my experience. Okay, again, I want to say that again. It doesn't work in my experience where they try to get the larger time frame. What happens is, let's say this turns into a trend day and they guess this right? Instead of looking for a particular area like the white zone, if you want long because it's the white zone, that's fine, no issue, right? But what they try to do is they try to predict the whole market, the whole read, without a proper setup. So I have one coaching client that does that. He takes swings using options too, right? But they look at a whole wide swath of, say, 10 to 20 points and go, this is where I want to load in, right? But the guys who are actually trading the futures contracts are trying to do that, capture that same trade with really tight stops, and it just kills them emotionally and psychologically. So make sure that whatever trade you're working on or whatever setup you're working on, that your setup is aligned with, that would be a good word, your setup is aligned with the time frame, and your stop is aligned with the time frame that you're trading, right? Or get very, very good at pinpointing your entries, one of the two. But I find that most people don't have the skill set on either side, and that's why their accounts draw down. And what happens is they end up catching these occasional longs like this, right? But then the rest of the time when the market chops back and forth, they give it all back. And that's how that boom bust cycle starts and happens. It's highly demoralizing. So anyways, that's my 2, 3, and 10 cents on the day. I don't have anything else to add. We are trying above value area high on both NQ and ES. It's my first sign that we have a trade. I have no sell pressure up here so far. Nothing that's materializing as sell pressure above. As a matter of fact, we've gotten above any early sell pressure. And again, I think we could push up pretty big. So I'm looking for, if we establish above value area high like we are now, I'm looking for my first long setups of the day. And so long as we stay above value area high, I will focus on long setups. If we establish above and then trade back in, I'll start working my short setups for a move to the other side of the range, right? And then I will press shorts underneath value area low, and particularly underneath Thursday's low, because there's lots of space underneath to push lower. But right now we've established above value area high. And I thought the reason I posted the daily chart is because I think we could have a big up day. I don't have any other empirical evidence other than what I've presented, but I think we could trend up today is my guess. So that all hinges on staying above value area high. That's off the board. Below value area high, that's off the board, right? And then also the internals on tick. So the only thing that doesn't support an open drive higher here is tick is totally neutral. Advancers, NYC advancing versus declining. There's no commitment one way or the other. So this makes sense. Right now, this move makes sense. Why does this make sense, even though tick is not participating? It makes sense because all of this can simply be rollover behavior, closing out the last contract month and rolling to the forward contract month. So understand that requires traders to make, institutional traders are making trading decisions that have absolutely zero to do with what the market is doing right now, right? They're not looking at it and going, oh, internals look strong, right? They're going, hey, I've got to roll these contracts over. So it doesn't matter what the hell the market's doing, right? I've got to sell X, I got to buy Y, or I got to sell Y and sell X. It's some combination of however that huge, so remember, billions of dollars, right, are having to be rolled, right? They don't care what the market's doing right now. They're not functioning on any kind of fundamental trade. They're not looking at internals. They're not looking at earnings. They're not looking at news. They're going, I've got a portfolio that's got to be rebalanced for the forward month, right? And so they just go, boop, here it all is. And they want to try and wrap up that business by the end of the first hour, right? Why? Because it's Friday and everyone wants to go watch March Madness, right? I know Texas plays this afternoon at 2 o'clock. I'm going to watch it. Would be my intention, at least. And so you'll notice that this has nothing to do with internals. By the way, advancers over decliners. See if I have this really quick. Let's close this down. I don't need it. Should have one more chart. There we go. So advancers are 1390, decliners are 1211, pretty balanced. Advanced decline ratio 1.15, not bullish or bearish one way or the other, right? And so I'm just going to let them play out. So you'll see what they're doing here. See how they pushed above value area high? Now they're pushing right back down, right? So hence the reason why I'm waiting. Now imagine all the people who said, oh, we're above value area high, trend day up, let me grab it. And now they're holding their breath, right? I just rather sit this stuff out. Let them establish, let the hedge funds and pension funds and everyone who's, all the big fish that need to get through the morning, let them get through the morning, and then I'll let them set me up for my trade. So anyways, we should have a good day, guys. Guys on YouTube, thanks for joining. If you please hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. And if you got on StockTwits or Twitter, whatever you're on, and let them know if you enjoyed this. I'd appreciate it. I'd like to build this to a bigger following. And that's it. I don't expect much out of the day other than to follow my process. So that tends to make me money. Again, zero commitment from tick over here. Zero whipping back and forth. They're trying to establish above on ES. They failed to establish above value area high on NQ so far, right? So let's see where we are after the top of the hour, and then I'll start gathering some trading decision processes. So going to refill my coffee and do my breathing exercise for the next 10 minutes, and then I'll be back right after 9 o'clock. Guys on YouTube, thank you for joining this morning. If you'd like a pass, by the way, you can email me. Let's see what Daniel say. When it was above value area high on NQ, it was max. Got it. Thank you. So Daniel has an indicator that says when we were above value area high, NQ was max overbought on an intraday basis on one of his indicators. That's fine. I don't, like I said, I don't have anything yet. I want to see it get past the first half hour to 45 minutes, and then I'll start attacking. So talk to you all in a bit, guys. Again, thank you guys on YouTube for joining.